There was a time when Saturday nights meant something different. I'm talking about an era when you didn't need a streaming service or a home theater system to feel the magic of cinema. You just needed a car, someone you cared about sitting beside you, and a drive-in theater glowing under the stars like a beacon of pure Americana. If you grew up in those years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're watching this video right now, I want you to close your eyes for just a moment and remember. Remember the crunch of gravel under tires. Remember the smell of popcorn mixing with summer air. Remember that flutter of excitement as you pulled into your spot, the giant screen towering ahead like a temple to dreams. That's what I want to talk about today. And I promise you, by the time we reach the end of this journey together, you'll feel like you've traveled back in time. But here's what I need from you. Stay with me until the very last word. Watch this entire video, because those who do are remembered faster by the platform, and that means you'll be first in line when we bring you more stories like this one. And let's make this special. Let's hit a goal together. I want to see 100 comments on this video. Just 100 people sharing their memories, their thoughts, or simply telling me where in the world they're watching from. Can we do that? I believe we can. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Not tomorrow, not later, but right now. Because when you subscribe and watch our videos all the way through, you're telling the universe and this platform that these stories matter. You're making sure you never miss a single memory we share. So hit that subscribe button, drop a motivational comment below, and let's keep these memories alive together. Now, let me take you back. There was a time when America felt wider, when the road stretched endlessly ahead and the night sky wasn't competing with the glow of smartphones and streetlights. It was the 1950s rolling into the 60s, then the 70s, and drive-in theaters were everywhere. They weren't just places to watch movies. They were destinations, rituals, entire experiences wrapped up in a few hours under the open sky. You'd finish dinner at home, maybe meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and someone would say it. The magic words, "Want to go to the drive-in tonight?" And just like that, everything changed. The evening had purpose. There was something to look forward to, something that made the weekend feel like a real escape from the workweek grind. Let me paint the picture for you, because if you were there, you'll recognize every detail. And if you weren't, you deserve to know what you missed. The drive-in theater sat on the edge of town, usually on a piece of land that was too flat or too far out to be worth much else. But come Friday and Saturday nights, that piece of land transformed into the most popular spot for miles around. You'd see the cars lining up even before the sun went down. Families and station wagons with kids bouncing in the back seat. Young couples in Chevys and Fords with the paint still shining. Groups of teenagers squeezed into someone's hand-me-down sedan, all heading toward the same place. The entrance itself was modest, maybe just a small booth where you'd pay your admission. It wasn't expensive. $1, maybe $2 per person, sometimes even less if you had a carload of kids. The attendant would hand you a little ticket stub and you'd roll forward, tires crunching over gravel and dirt, past rows and rows of speaker posts standing like sentinels in the dimming light. Finding your spot was an art form. Some people liked to be close to the screen, right up front where the images loomed so large they filled your entire windshield. Others preferred the back, where you had a little more privacy, a little more room to settle in without feeling like the whole world was watching. And make no mistake, people were watching, but not in a judgmental way. It was more like everyone was part of the same club, the same secret society of folks who understood that this was where you came to be free. You'd park your car, angle it just right toward the screen, and then came the moment I bet you remember most vividly: the speaker. That metal box hanging on a post right outside your window. You'd roll down the glass, reach out, and hook that speaker onto the edge of your door. The weight of it, the coolness of the metal, the slight crackle as the sound came through. It wasn't high fidelity, it wasn't surround sound, but it was perfect because it was yours. That speaker brought the movie directly into your car, into your private little bubble of space, and it made you feel like the film was being performed just for you. Before the main feature started, there was the pre-show. Oh, the pre-show. If you were there, you remember this. The screen would flicker to life with advertisements and cartoons and concession stand promotions that somehow felt more entertaining than half the commercials you see today. There'd be dancing hot dogs and popcorn buckets doing the jitterbug, animated characters encouraging you to visit the snack bar before the movie began. And you would? Everyone did. You'd pile out of the car, kids racing ahead, couples walking hand in hand, and you'd make your way to the concession stand. The building itself was usually small, sometimes just a shed with a counter, but it was the heart of the operation. The smell hit you first. Fresh popcorn popping in those big old machines, butter melting and drizzling over the kernels until they glistened. Candy bars lined up in neat rows, milk duds and jujubes and Raisinets. Glass bottles of Coca-Cola sweating in metal coolers packed with ice. And if you were lucky, they'd have hot dogs on a roller grill, buns soft and warm, mustard and ketchup waiting in squeeze bottles. You'd carry your haul back to the car, arms full of treats, and settle in just as the sky turned from purple to black and the stars began to appear. The screen itself was massive, a white monolith rising up from the ground, sometimes 50 or 60 feet tall, dominating the landscape like a modern-day colossus. During the day, it was just a blank canvas, unremarkable, even a little sad-looking. But at night, when the projector kicked on from the booth somewhere behind the rows of cars, it came alive. The beam of light cut through the darkness, carrying with it the images that would transport hundreds of people simultaneously to another world. Maybe it was a Western, with cowboys and dusty trails and shootouts at high noon. Maybe it was a monster movie, with creatures rising from the deep or descending from space. Maybe it was a musical, with bright colors and dancing and songs that you'd hum all the way home. Or maybe, if you were on a date, it was a romance, something that gave you an excuse to sit a little closer, to share a blanket, even though the summer night was warm. But here's the thing about drive-in theaters that made them so special, and I want you to really hear this because it's the heart of everything. They weren't just about the movies. They were about the experience. They were about being together in a way that felt both communal and private at the same time. You were surrounded by other people, other families, other couples, all of you facing the same screen, watching the same story unfold. But you were also in your own little world. Inside your car, you could laugh as loud as you wanted, cry without embarrassment, talk through the boring parts, or sit in comfortable silence. Kids would fall asleep in the back seat, wrapped in blankets, their faces peaceful in the flickering light from the screen. Teenagers would sneak glances at each other, working up the courage to hold hands or steal a kiss. Parents would relax, finally, after a long week, just enjoying a moment of entertainment that didn't require fancy clothes or babysitters or worrying about keeping the kids quiet. And when intermission came, oh, there was intermission, the screen would announce it with that same cheerful animation, reminding everyone to visit the snack bar one more time. The playground equipment near the concession stand would fill up with children, swinging on swings, climbing on jungle gyms, burning off energy before the second feature started. Because yes, most drive-ins showed double features. 2 movies for the price of 1. You'd arrive at dusk and leave well past midnight, exhausted but satisfied, feeling like you'd gotten your money's worth and then some. The car would smell like popcorn and summer and happiness, and the radio might play low on the drive home, everyone half awake, half dreaming, replaying their favorite scenes in their minds. There was something democratic about drive-ins too, something that reflected the best of what America wanted to be. It didn't matter if you drove up in a brand new Cadillac or an old beat-up truck held together with rust and prayer. It didn't matter if you were dressed in your Sunday best or wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Everyone paid the same price, parked in the same lot, watched the same movie. The banker sat next to the factory worker, the teacher next to the farmer, all equal under the stars. All there for the same reason: to escape, to dream, to feel something bigger than their everyday lives. In a world that often felt divided, that often reminded people of their differences, the drive-in was a leveling ground. It was a place where what mattered was simply showing up and being human together. The golden age of drive-in theaters stretched across decades, from the late 1940s through the 1970s, peaking somewhere in the late 50s and early 60s when there were more than 4,000 drive-ins scattered across the country. Think about that number for a moment, 4,000. They were in every state, in small towns and big cities, each one a little different but all sharing that same essential magic. Some had playgrounds and mini-golf courses. Others had picnic areas where you could eat before the show. A few even had petting zoos or small amusement park rides. They were community centers disguised as movie theaters, places where memories were made and traditions were born. Families had their favorite drive-ins, the one they returned to week after week, summer after summer, until it became part of their identity, part of their story. But let me tell you about the people who worked there, because they were part of the magic too. The projectionist, usually hidden away in a small booth, was the wizard behind the curtain, threading reels of film with practiced precision, making sure the show started on time, troubleshooting when the film broke or the sound cut out. The concession stand workers, often teenagers earning summer money, scooping popcorn and counting change and managing the rush that came during intermission with surprising grace. The managers who worried about everything from the weather forecast to the condition of the speakers to whether they'd have enough hot dog buns to last the weekend. These weren't glamorous jobs, but they were essential, and the people who did them took pride in keeping the show running smoothly. They understood that they were part of something important, something that brought joy to their community. Now I need to pause here and talk to you directly. Are you still with me? Because this is where I need you most. We're building something together, you and I, with every video, with every story we share. But the platform needs to know that what we're doing matters. It needs to see that you're watching, that you're engaged, that you care about preserving these memories. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now, and don't just subscribe. Watch this video all the way to the end. Every second counts. Every view tells the algorithm that this content deserves to be seen by more people. That stories like this need to be told and retold until everyone remembers what we've lost and why it mattered. And here's what else I want. I want those 100 comments. Tell me your favorite drive-in memory. Tell me what movie you saw on your first date. Tell me if you ever snuck into the drive-in hiding in someone's trunk, because I know some of you did. Share these memories with me and with each other. That's how we keep them alive. That's how we make sure the next generation understands that there was a time when entertainment wasn't just about convenience and technology. It was about experience and community and magic. So comment below, right now, before you forget. Tell me you were there. Tell me you remember. Tell me I'm not alone in missing something that can never come back. The decline of drive-in theaters didn't happen overnight. It was gradual, a slow fade like the end of a movie when the credits roll and the lights come up and you realize it's time to go home. Multiple factors conspired against them. Real estate became too valuable. That flat piece of land on the edge of town suddenly became prime property for shopping centers and housing developments and strip malls. The profit margin on showing movies got tighter as Hollywood changed its distribution models. And then there was technology. The rise of home video in the 1980s, The VCR revolution that promised you could watch whatever you wanted whenever you wanted without leaving your living room. Later came cable TV with its dozens of channels, then satellite dishes, then DVDs, then streaming services. Each innovation made staying home a little more attractive, a little more convenient, until going out to the movies, especially to a drive-in that required planning and good weather and arriving early to get a decent spot, started to feel like too much effort. The culture changed too. By the 1980s and 90s, America was speeding up. Everything was faster, busier, more immediate. The idea of spending a whole evening at the drive-in, watching 2 movies over the course of 4 or 5 hours, felt quaint, old-fashioned, inefficient. Multiplex theaters with their stadium seating and surround sound and climate control became the new standard. You could walk in, watch your movie in comfort, and be home in 2 hours. It was streamlined, modern, an improvement in many ways. But something was lost. The intimacy, the freedom, the feeling of being outside under the sky, connected to nature and to each other in a way that a sterile theater with its sticky floors and assigned seats could never replicate. One by one, drive-ins closed. The screens came down, the speaker posts were pulled up, the land was sold and repurposed. Some drive-ins tried to hang on, updating their equipment, adding modern amenities, showing the latest blockbusters. A few succeeded, becoming beloved local landmarks that families protected and supported, but most didn't make it. By the turn of the millennium, fewer than 400 drive-ins remained in the entire country, down from that peak of over 4,000 just a few decades earlier. It was a staggering loss, a piece of American culture vanishing before our eyes, and most people didn't even notice until it was too late. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is crucial. The drive-in theater wasn't just a place to watch movies. It was a symbol of a certain kind of American life, a certain set of values and priorities. It represented a time when we weren't in such a hurry, when entertainment was something you experienced together rather than alone, when being outside and under the stars mattered more than perfect picture quality or comfortable seating. It represented a time when communities had shared spaces and shared experiences, when you might run into your neighbors or your coworkers or your kid's teacher all parked a few rows away, all there for the same reason. It represented a time when simple pleasures were enough, when you didn't need to spend a fortune or travel far to have a memorable evening, when happiness could be found in a bucket of popcorn and a good movie and the people you loved sitting beside you. I think about the romance of it all too, and I know many of you do as well. How many first kisses happened at drive-in theaters? How many couples fell in love in those cars, the movie playing but hardly watched, their attention focused entirely on each other? How many engagements happened there, rings presented during intermission, promises made under the stars? The drive-in was the backdrop for countless love stories, a place where young people could be together with a sense of freedom and privacy that was hard to find elsewhere in the 50s and 60s when parents kept. Close tabs and social rules were strict. Your car at the drive-in was your castle, your kingdom, a space where you could be yourselves without judgment or interference. And the families, oh, the families. Think about the parents who packed up their kids in pajamas, knowing they'd fall asleep before the first movie ended, but bringing them anyway because it was tradition, because it was what you did on summer weekends. Think about the station wagons with the back seats folded down, blankets spread out, pillows piled up, creating a cozy nest where children could watch the movie lying down, staring up at the screen through the rear window. Think about the teenagers earning their independence, finally old enough to borrow the car and go to the drive-in with their friends, feeling grown up and free and invincible. These weren't just outings. They were rituals, markers of time, moments that defined childhoods and built memories that would last a lifetime. I want to tell you about the movies themselves too, because the drive-in experience shaped what got shown and how we remember those films. Drive-ins were famous for their B-movies, the low-budget creature features and sci-fi thrillers and teen comedies that might not have made it in a regular theater but found their audience under the stars. Films like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman and Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Beach Blanket Bingo became cult classics not because they were masterpieces of cinema, but because watching them at a drive-in made them feel special, made them feel like events. The quality of the film almost didn't matter. What mattered was the atmosphere, the fun, the shared experience of watching something wonderfully absurd with a crowd of people who were all in on the joke. But drive-ins also showed the big releases, the blockbusters that everyone wanted to see. Can you imagine watching Jaws at a drive-in in 1975? That shark appearing on a screen 5 stories tall, the suspense building as the sun set and the darkness closed in around you? Or Star Wars in 1977, the opening crawl filling your entire field of vision, John Williams' score crackling through that little speaker hooked to your car door? Or Grease in 1978, singing along to Summer Nights with hundreds of other people, car horns honking during the good parts? These were communal experiences in the truest sense, moments when entire communities came together to witness something new and exciting and talk about it for weeks afterward. The weather played its part too, in ways both frustrating and beautiful. A sudden rainstorm could ruin a night, everyone scrambling to roll up windows and unhook speakers, the screen barely visible through the downpour. But a perfect summer evening, warm and clear with a gentle breeze and fireflies dancing between the cars, that was heaven. You didn't control the environment at a drive-in the way you do in a climate-controlled theater. You were at nature's mercy, and that made it feel more real, more alive. The smell of summer grass, the sound of crickets chirping during quiet moments in the film, the coolness that settled in as midnight approached and you pulled your jacket a little tighter. These sensory details became part of the memory, inseparable from the movies themselves. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want you to think about what all of this means. Why does it matter that drive-in theaters are mostly gone? Why should we care about preserving the memory of something that's been replaced by technologies and experiences that are, in many ways, superior? I'll tell you why. Because what we lost wasn't just a type of movie theater. What we lost was a piece of our collective soul, a shared experience that brought people together in ways that are increasingly rare in modern life. We live in an age of isolation now, where everyone has their own screen, their own playlist, their own customized algorithm serving up content tailored specifically to their preferences. We don't have to share experiences anymore. We don't have to compromise or wait or be part of a crowd. And in many ways, that's convenient. But it's also lonely. The drive-in theater was imperfect. The sound quality was mediocre. The picture wasn't always clear, especially if you were far from the screen. The bathrooms were often questionable. The mosquitoes were relentless. But none of that mattered because you were there, really there. Present in a moment with other people, all of you experiencing the same thing at the same time. You were unplugged from everything else, focused on the movie and the company and the night itself. There was no scrolling through your phone during boring parts. There were no distractions pulling you away. You were committed to the experience, and that commitment made it meaningful. Some drive-ins have survived, and some have even been restored in recent years by people who understand what's at stake, who refuse to let this piece of American culture disappear completely. If you're lucky enough to have one near you, go. Take your kids or your grandkids. Show them what it was like. Let them experience that magic, even if it's just an echo of what once was. And if you don't have a drive-in nearby, share your memories with the people around you. Tell your stories. Show your old photos if you have them. Talk about the movies you saw and the dates you went on and the summer nights that seemed to last forever. These memories matter. They're part of who we are, part of what made us, and they deserve to be remembered and honored and passed down. Maybe we can't bring back the golden age of drive-in theaters. The world has changed too much, moved too far forward for that kind of wholesale revival. But we can remember. We can acknowledge what was lost and why it mattered. We can recognize that not every change represents progress, that sometimes we trade something irreplaceable for something merely convenient. And we can choose, in our own lives, to seek out experiences that bring us together, that slow us down, that remind us what it feels like to be truly present with the people we love and the world around us. The drive-in theater was the heart of American nights for a generation. It was where we went to dream, to escape, to fall in love, to be young and free and alive. It was where families created traditions and teenagers found independence and communities gathered under the stars. It was imperfect and wonderful and utterly unique, a piece of Americana that we'll never see again in quite the same way. But it lives on in our memories, in our stories, in moments like this when we take the time to remember and honor what once was. Perhaps we didn't realize it then, but we were living through something special, something that future generations would look back on with envy and nostalgia. We had the privilege of knowing a world where entertainment meant climbing into a car with people you cared about and driving out to a field at the edge of town to watch giant images flicker across a screen under the night sky. We had the privilege of belonging to that community, of being part of that shared experience, of creating memories that would last a lifetime. And for that, we should be grateful. Today, everything moves faster. We stream movies instantly, skip the parts we don't like, watch on our own schedules without regard for anyone else. We've gained convenience and choice and control. But sometimes, late on a summer evening when the air smells right and the stars are bright, I wonder what we've lost. I wonder if younger generations will ever understand the magic of a drive-in theater, or if it's something that can only be truly appreciated by those of us who were there, who lived it, who remember. And, if you want, tell me from which corner of the world you are watching this video. Your comment matters, and I want to read it and respond to you. For more exciting stories like this, click on the video that appears on your screen right now.